Privacy is my retreat. I don't mean I'm unfriendly. I greet neighbors, host the odd block party, and I always roll out the trash cans on time. But my Cedar Grove Estates home, that's my retreat. A wall between me and the insanity out there. When I bought this house last year, I expected the usual HOA rules. Mow the grass, avoid off-color paint schemes. What I did not expect was Evelyn Harper, HOA president. Nicknamed by whispered neighbors as the overseer, Evelyn regarded it as her responsibility to pry into every nook and cranny of my life. Her hold on this neighborhood turned peace into a war zone. And her devastation? It began with one knock on my front door. Evelyn had ruled the HOA in Cedar Grove for 7 long years. Her grip insinuated itself like ivy, thick, matted, and impossible to lop off. Mid-50s, perfect auburn bob that defied the weather, always wearing a crisp blazer, gripping gold necklaces whenever she ranted about community standards. Only 3 weeks since I'd relocated, her knock interrupted my unpacking. She stood on my porch, clipboard at the ready, smile as cheerful as mid-January. "Good afternoon," she chirped, voice dripping with artificial sugar. "I'm Evelyn Harper, president of the HOA, here for your quarterly inspection." I gave her a nod. "It's nice to meet you. The house is in great shape. Former owners kept it like it was their own." Her eyes flicked down to her clipboard. "That's for me to determine. We'll need to check both the exterior and interior for compliance." I froze. "Interior?" She nodded like it was obvious. "Section 12, paragraph 4 of the HOA covenant allows us to inspect all aspects of a property to maintain standards." She took a step forward. I did not budge. "I'd like to see that ordinance. I've seen the covenant. I don't recall anything regarding examining interiors." Her smile began to stretch, the first chink in her shining facade. "I don't have the page number, but it's common. We search for unapproved alterations, water damage, even unauthorized window treatments visible from the street." She waited for me to fold. I didn't. "I'm not comfortable with that without written notice and evidence of that rule. I'm willing to deal with exterior issues." Her eyes grew narrower. "Mr. Bennett, I've been doing this for 7 years. Nobody else complains? Are you keeping something from me?" I kept my voice steady. "Number only defending my right to privacy. Give me the regulation, and we can schedule an inspection officially." Her mask inched further forward. "Refusal could lead to fines if we do find violations later," she warned, checking on her clipboard that my lawn was a 1/4 inch too high as allowed, and my bins were technically within sight from one particular angle. She left with a promise to mail the rule and an implied threat concerning starting off on the wrong foot. Later that night, I settled in to read the HOA covenant, 100 pages long. As I had dreaded, it allowed only for exterior inspections visible from the public or to neighbors. Nothing about interiors. 3 days later, Evelyn came back, this time with Harold Vance, the HOA VP, former banker, always sweating and following Evelyn around like a lost puppy. "Mr. Bennett," she said, handing me a photocopied page and one line highlighted in neon green. "Here's the rule." I read it. It authorized exterior inspections. Someone had written interior in pen. A clear forgery. "Evelyn," I said, fighting a smirk, "this is doctored. The original doesn't mention interiors." Her face flushed. "It's an amendment. From our last board meeting. The intention was always to include interiors." "Intent is not law," I stated. "Amendments require a 2/3 homeowner vote under Section 3. This does not grant interior access." Harold spoke up weakly. "Evelyn's preserved property values for years. Compromise helps." "I'll play by real rule," I said, "not ones scribbled together with a pen." Evelyn's eyes flashed. "The board will address your defiance. Wait for a formal notice." 7 days went by, and a letter arrived. Fines of $50 a day for disobeying inspection. But I had already talked to a lawyer friend. He confirmed no foundation in law for interior inspections. I answered each board member citing the covenant, state codes, and declining to pay fines. They disappeared. But Evelyn's wrath, that intensified. Suddenly, citations attacked me. Too much bird seed, unauthorized flowers planted years ago, mailbox out by 1/2 inch. 41 inches exactly. It was an attrition war, designed to wear me down. I kept count, just in case. And then the turning point. A quiet Saturday morning in April. I was drinking coffee on my patio when my gate squeaked open. Evelyn and Harold burst into my yard, clipboards at the ready. "What are you doing?" I set aside my mug. "Quarterly inspection," Evelyn snapped. "Unapproved landscaping. Section 8 mandates 72 hours written notice for off-site inspections," I replied calmly, "and gated communities must be entered around with consent." "We emailed," Harold grumbled. "I never got it. And emails don't count. The covenant states written notice hand-delivered. Scram!" Evelyn's fake smile disappeared. "This is ridiculous. Your obstruction will cost you." I stepped closer. "You're trespassing. Leave or I'll call the police." She sneered. "Go ahead. I'd love to explain how you're defying the HOA." I warned her again. She crossed her arms. "Do it." I called non-emergency and reported trespassers. Evelyn, shockingly, whipped out her phone and called 911. "Emergency!" she cried. "I'm being threatened. Held hostage by an aggressive homeowner." Harold remained still, catching a glimpse of how far she was prepared to push. "Evelyn," I said, shaking my head, "that's a false report. You can leave. I've told you that." She smiled. "We'll see who the cops believe." 2 cruisers arrived within minutes. 4 officers entered slowly, hands near their guns. Sergeant Torres, the lead, looked burned out. "What's the situation?" They entered uninvited. I told them to leave. She wouldn't. Then called 911 falsely. No threats, nobody trapped. I indicated the open gate. Torres addressed Harold. He broke down. "We, thought HOA regulations permitted it. There were no threats. The 911 call was exaggerated." Evelyn gasped. "Harold, he obstructed us." Torres glared at the doctored document. "This appears doctored." "I have the original," I said, handing it to him. He read both. "No inside inspections. Outside needs notice. This is a civil issue, but false 911 calls and misuse of emergency services, that's a crime." Evelyn turned pale. I felt threatened. Torres shook his head. "No evidence. You wasted police time." He told them to leave or be charged. "Ms. Harper," he added, "this will be referred to the DA." Evelyn said nothing. Harold was already halfway to the gate. I said to him, "The board will see this report, your trespass, false report, and forged document." They slunk off the property like school children who had cheated. Torres paused. "HOA drama is normal, but calling 911 about an inspection? That's a first. Ever thought of running for the board?" I laughed. "Maybe." As the cruisers drove away, neighbors gazed from windows. Evelyn stood on the other side of the street, humiliated, her power eroding. 3 days went by. A letter came. Evelyn had been suspended pending an investigation. The HOA apologized, invited me to a reform meeting. Evelyn wanted access into my home. But in the end, her overreach swung open the door to her own demise. Cedar Grove was waking up. The overseer's reign was wearing thin.